All right, next session, we're bringing on Andy. We are capping off our 4-hour live stream, and with a good friend of mine, Andy. Andy, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's happening, Zach? Good
I'm
afternoon.
happy. This has been an amazing experience so far. I mean, we've had like 1,500 people signed up. They've been bouncing in and out of sessions. I think there's some people that we've managed to hold their attention for almost 4 hours now, which blows my mind. Or maybe they're just have it in the background. They've tuned me out by now. So who knows, right? But happy we have you on here, Andy. Maybe introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about your last speaker's comment about Jim Quick. Read the book Limitless, great book, by the way. He would have the book. The author would have suggested you need to take a break.
Yeah.
Your brain can't do the 4 hours straight. You want to be at capacity. You need those short sprint breaks and then get back to it. But hey, man, kudos to you guys, to you and Brian and the rest of the team. Frank, thank you for doing this. As a guy that is active in the coaching ecosystem, and I have a team myself and a user of Sisu, watching what you guys are doing and that place. Not only are you doing this super marathon summit, but you're doing it for free. That place of contribution. So thanks to you guys. Really awesome of you to do it. So a little bit about me. As I told you, I am a coach with Tom Ferry organization. I coach like 99% of what I coach are teams all across the country, from small teams to small teams like 4 or 5 agents on the team besides the leader, to teams that have 30 plus agents that are on track to do 600 transactions. Many of those Sisu users. That's why you are my go-to guy for. I think this is broken. The data's not there, and
That's why you
where's
got
it
me on
at?
not speed dial, speed text. It's like, hey,
Speed
fix
text.
this. Yeah,
I got the
I'm
I got the
there. Yeah,
secret text number, the
you do. Yeah.
special sacred don't give this out text number. But thank you for being faithful to getting those things for the clients that we coach. I run a team here in Central California in Fresno. I have a team of agents. We have 10 people on our team, and then in my prior life, that team, by the way, is just a little over a year old. Because prior to that, I was a CEO for a Home Services of America company here in Central California, and loved it, but really missed my independence and my freedom and flexibility to do coaching. And really, I coach as a team leader as well and in
Yeah.
production. And we are on track in our first full year back as a team to do a little over 100 transactions this year. So super pumped about that.
Yeah, that's
And I
awesome.
know that because I checked my Sisu.
Oh
Um,
yeah, you got those little graphs telling you
yeah,
how it's like I said this on the last session. It's a blessing or a curse. You can't hide from the numbers though. So,
can't
uh,
hide for the numbers, especially in accountability sessions.
yeah, I love it. Um, so this session, we talked. I mean, I know you coach some amazing teams. I've seen these teams. I've seen your list of Sisu clients that you coach, and I know you have some clients that likely are not yet Sisu clients.
Yeah.
Um, what are you seeing? I mean, this is kind of an open topic, but what are you seeing from? You have this unique perspective of talking and really getting deep into these teams' businesses. I mean, what are a couple of the things that are big that we could really dig into?
Yeah, so really, this is the season of business planning, and if there's ever a season where you see a team or even an individual agent that's using your product is leveraging it and digging in deeper, or realizing how little they know about the tool that they're paying for, it's now. What did you do in 2020, and what do you want to do next year? Let's go take a look. And there's usually that OS moment, or all right, let's go. But in coaching teams for Tom for nearly 4 years, and then just being in leadership and mentoring new agents and experienced agents alike, I've learned a couple of things through that process that, without fail, they show up in this season. And well, maybe we can have a dialogue about them. I think the number one, call it a mistake or a lesson, growth mindset. I'll call it a lesson.
Let's call it a
That
lesson.
number one thing that I see is the business planning season is about, like, okay, I'm on pace to finish with 250 transactions this year. So next year I think we can do 275, or next year I think we could do 300. And or they say, the agent said I should end up with GCI somewhere around 1.1 million. So next year I want to do more. And the reality is, that's not really a plan. That's more of like a wish list, and
So you
that's a
almost feel guilted into, I should have this goal that's higher. Yeah.
so what I'm finding time and energy spent on right now is instead of focusing so much on increasing your GCI or increasing the number of homes sold, how about we have a deeper focus on profit and planning for profit? The biggest challenge in planning for profit is we have to set aside our ego and say it's not about going and doing more, but how about having more and
Yeah.
keeping more? And so I was reminded. I was thinking about this talk. I was reminded about a relationship I had with an agent who was a top five producer many years ago in my market. And I was going to an event and I got on an airplane and somehow I sat next to him and I was picking his brain about his business and how he's been so successful. He's about 20 years my senior and so I was just asking him. Ultimately, I came to this question: I see you everywhere. I see you in the newspaper. I see you in the magazines. This tells you it's about 15 years ago. Plus, how big is your marketing budget? Like, how much money are you spending to do what you do every single year? Like, you're this perennial top five producer. And he shared with me the number. And I just remember later that week going, okay, I'm going to go figure this out. And so I saw the number of homes he sold. I saw the sales volume, and I kind of reverse engineered conservatively what he would be making. And I'm like, he's selling over 100 homes a year every year to make maybe 110 to 120 net.
Oh, geez.
That's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so, just if you're watching this and you're in that planning mode, what do you want? Like, what is it that you really want to pursue and plan for in profit, not just in GCI and units? You could reverse engineer. And the first thing you have to figure out is your expenses. If you're going to go pursue your profits, you got to know your personal and business expenses because or what most people do in this situation is the expenses are known when it's tax season. The expenses are known when the credit card bill comes. The expenses are known lag measure instead of knowing the expenses from the front end and reverse engineering that to figure out the profit.
I
Makes
love that.
sense?
Um, so you start digging in on someone's expenses. What are you finding are the most just, where are the expenses running away, and where are you just kind of laying the hammer, I guess?
Yeah, I don't do that. The latter part is not something that I think that is the role of the coach. It's to ask the questions that are oftentimes the hard ones to answer. When you ask great questions, especially when you look at expenses and relate them to ROI, you tend to
It's
find
a
those
parrot.
things. One of the things that I'm discovering, I've taken on a handful of new team clients recently, and because one of our amazing coaches is going back into production, killing it in production, and so got a couple of his clients into my schedule, and I'm seeing this theme of team leaders production is going to the top line revenue, and they're paying themselves a salary, but they have to have their production and top line revenue to be able to pay for a lot of the things they have inside as a benefit of the team. That's a little bass backwards. As a benefit, you need to be able to pay yourself first and to have the team support itself. And so, really trying to unpack that. Usually, particularly if it's a large company, top two expenses are salary and occupancy.
Okay.
Usually, it's the rent they're paying. Sometimes they're paying themselves. They own the building, which is great, but salaries and occupancy. And so, we're going to go and look at their org chart, figure out if they're fat on the salary side, or if sometimes they're too lean, and as a result, spending too much money in other areas they shouldn't, like outsourcing. And
Yep.
maybe this is time to bring that person in and not have to outsource. So it depends on the dynamics of the team. It depends if they're heavy with the online leads. It depends if they're, have a lot of, we have a couple of teams that I coach that do a really significant amount of sphere of influence in past clients, healthy lead generation, but we need to diversify. So
Yep.
depends. So I have another one for you. Another lesson learned that comes up this season. It's similar to the first one, but if I was to rephrase it in this context, it's that that ego that wants to do more. I got to sell more houses or I got to make more commission. Almost a little passive. They say, well, this next year we did this year, so next year I think we could sell more houses, and we're just going to sell more houses and we're going to recruit agents, and that's how we're going to get to my goal. And the bottom line is, okay, But what about let's look at some of the things that you're doing as an organization well, and let's do more of those.
Yeah.
What happens is, right now there's a lot of big name channel accounts that are showing up in different teams across the country, and there's a lot of energy focused on making that channel account successful. So the energy goes there. Well, in order to do more of that channel account, I need to add more agents. Meanwhile, the percentage of business that's going to that channel account is increasing 50, 60, 70% of total closings. Let's look back at where, and this is what I love. I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of days inside of Sisu looking at the client's lead sources closed year to date. And whether you look at your transaction screen or you look at that report for lead sources, the report for lead sources is amazing, by the way. And you see where you start losing leads as well in these different
Yep.
phases of the process. That's another one to really dig into. What can we do better is the question you should be asking. Instead of just saying, hey, we're going to grow to this by adding agents, or we're going to grow to this because I think this group is going to sell more homes, which is a gamble. I'm not saying either one of those is bad. Strategically spend some energy looking at your lead sources that you've closed and what could you do better or more of. Say it's past clients in Sphere. I like to ask this question. Okay, be really honest. How consistent were you with your lead sources on past client in Sphere? And then follow up is this. If you closed that many from past client in Sphere this year, did they call you, or was it as a result of an active lead generation plan? Because it's really easy to brag about, oh, we got 7 deals this month from my past clients, and all you did was answer great, you got to come list me call. Awesome. But what if we worked it?
Yeah.
What if we put some energy into it? Then what would we get? And have a plan for consistency. You did something for me for my team on this subject, and I don't know that you knew it was going to speak into this at that point, but I said, hey, I'm not seeing the pay-per-click conversion that I want to see inside of my team. Cool. Well, let's bake a contest around appointments set, met, etc., all the lead measures around pay-per-click conversion, and what you put a contest on, you'll expand.
Yep.
So very similar to that subject. Instead of saying, we could just sell more homes, let's actually make some projections based on energy on lead sources that worked and maybe lead source that didn't work. I think it's interesting, Zach, that most teams inside of our coaching ecosystem at Tom Ferry, we talk about these large teams that typically have 2 to 3 lead sources that make up 60 to 70% of their closings.
Interesting. And
And
so
some of
you,
them aren't necessarily predictable. Some of them they're just coming to them.
yeah. And I'm guessing, so me and you talked about this, and PPC has been a big push for you. I mean, PPC, you could throw more money and get more PPC leads and predictably convert them, right? Is that part of the reason you push in and trying to make PPC even more profitable?
Yeah, and it wasn't just that I wanted to push in and get PPC more profitable. I was asking the question of, can the team figure this out? Who
Yeah.
who in the team, kind of crowdsourcing it? Who in the team can figure out a better way to increase our conversion? If our conversion is X, what could it be if I empowered them? Giving them some ideas, but split the team up into 2 groups. We're going to have an old school sales contest, steak and beans at the end of the deal. The winning team gets fed amazing steak. The losing team has to eat the beans right there in front of them, and
That
they're
is
going to
so, I
bring it in.
remember you telling me about this. This is so cool.
So you created Team Gas X and Team Beano. We had a lot of fun with it. Like, you don't even have to spend money on this, but just giving it attention and pressing into it. And sure enough, one of the 2 teams is really excelling, not because they found a magic pill, but because they're focusing on it.
Yeah. What
They're
you
just
focus on
focused on it.
expands. Focus and
What you
measure it
focus.
expands.
Agreed. And I'll tell you that in this particular case, it's make your flipping calls. That's all they're doing more. Focus on it. Make you want to drive
Go
it. Focus
figure,
on it
right?
for a minute.
Go figure.
That's it. All right. So
Yeah.
here's the big aha epiphany, and the thing that I've been most excited about. There's I'm sure some people that are going to be watching either from teams I coach or others that are in staff level positions and support positions, and the people that really, they grease the skids and they really make the teams work. When it comes time to business planning season, the lesson I've learned is there's not enough energy spent helping them plan. There's a lot of
Helping
energy
the,
spent planning around, sales, driving revenue, increasing units, agent-based planning. I mean, even the business plans that you see out there are agent-based planning. But when it comes to, your admins, the people that, to be honest, know most of the problems already that are going on inside of the team, the people that should be asked, hey, what kind of 2 or 3 things can we work on to improve your department in 2021? We don't do that. And so recently, I was exposed to it was a call that Tom Ferry led just for the teams that we coach. I was exposed to OKRs,
Hmm.
and I'm like, what the heck? I know that. I know that from somewhere. And then Tom's like, yeah, it's from Measure What Matters, John Doerr, and who is a venture capitalist today, but back in the day he was a godfather at Intel, and
Yeah.
he gave Google like nearly 13 million bucks in 1999. Not a bad investment. But he made his millions because he applied this system of objectives and key results. So let me back up one more step. The bigger challenge that I've experienced personally is I've always adopted a management philosophy of 4 disciplines of execution.
Yep.
And we're gonna get everybody to make a goal, wildly important goal, focus on it, act on the lead measures, keep a compelling scoreboard, and have a cadence of accountability. I use that in all the teams I coach, and I use it in my own team. And literally, Sisu, if you use it, it enables you to apply 4DX at such
C2
an
is
easy level.
4DX. It
It
actually,
is.
there were reports in our early days that were named like the wig sheet, right? Which
They're still
we
there, the
eventually
accountability
changed
section.
it. Yeah, because everyone said, "What the heck is a wig sheet?" Well, we're like, "Well, it's 40x," and you just have to read the book. But
You gotta go to wildly important goals, or anyways. But when you take that same management philosophy and it works so well for sales teams, and you apply it well, particularly using the scoreboards and the cadence of accountability, it's awesome. Take that same management philosophy and try to apply it to an admin that says, hey, we've got these 3 projects that are a pain in our backside and we really need to get them done. If we did, they'll fix some of our systems issues. Okay, so go ahead and scoreboard that for me. And I'm not saying, because I know there's some really smart people in the ecosystem of 4 disciplines of execution, outside of real estate especially, that go, yeah, this is how you do it. I'm sorry, maybe I'm just slow, but in 5 years, I haven't been able to apply it that well.
yeah,
So then you get to objectives and key results, and it simply says this. As a leader, Zach, so let's say Brian as a leader, 3 major objectives for Sisu in 2021. No more than 3. And then he is transparent about those objectives, and your department, Frank's department, everybody inside the company goes, okay, I can get behind that, and I've got 2 to 3 objectives of my own. Awesome. Now, an objective is not like a SMART goal. An objective is more like a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Something that is, the author talks about it as it's something that you aspire to attain. Like he says, if you bought a football team, your your objective is to win a Super Bowl. It might not happen next year. It might take 5 years. So you say let me give you a sample objective in a real estate team. You say to your team, I want to have amazing systems that run independent of me, the leader. So that as a leader, I don't have to get involved in low level tasks. I can stay focused working on the business. It's an aspiration objective, right? So this is the key results. So what are we going to do in Q1 to move us closer to that objective? And we break it down into bite-sized measures. Now it has to be smart, that, specific, measurable,
hmm,
attainable, realistic, and time-bound, right? So it's going to be from X to Y, but we're going to do this to here by this time. And when you read the key result, it's easy to see. You either can do it or you can't do it. You either did it or you didn't do it. Now imagine, as a team, you put that tool into the hands of your staff and you see projects and systems move forward. I literally have spent the last couple of weeks implementing this with teams I coach, and you can see light bulbs happening. You can see them getting it. Yes, that totally makes sense. But here's where the real magic happens. You, as a leader, write your 2 to 3 objectives that you want for the year. Again, sexy, big, hairy, audacious goals, things that are aspirational.
Most people on this call, most team leaders have no problem coming up with those.
Okay,
They're
good.
all big
I
thinkers.
agree with you 100%. So then you take your staff to an offsite. And I don't mean like a retreat. I mean a 1 day, 3/4 day offsite where you present the objectives and begin to empower them developing objectives for their own and key results so that when you leave that offsite, you are set with plans for them for the year and key results for the short term. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly. And you meet with them regularly to see how they're progressing through their key results. That little tweak in planning has changed. I mean, it's very fresh for me. I'm just being honest about it. It has
Yeah.
changed the way that we're implementing strategy and moving forward within teams.
I mean, this is perfect. That's why we're doing the summit now. It's such perfect timing. It's business planning season, and I think you're right. I mean, I don't hear a lot of people talking about, business planning for my admin team and all these projects that they're going to roll out because it's not as intuitive. And I think the way you've laid it out makes it significantly more, one, intuitive, but two, I can now measure it, right?
Yeah, and as a leader, I think it's okay to be that big in the way they're thinking, to be that general, I should say. Like when you say, I want to have amazing systems that run independent of a leader. Okay, awesome. And the question to your staff needs to be which one system, whether it's transaction based, listing coordinator, onboarding of new agents, finance systems, maybe other non property centric marketing systems, which one system can we focus on now first that would give us the biggest return on investment in the shortest period of time? Go
Yep.
there. You'll not only find success for the business, and you'll get energy and this culture around this OKR thing works.
Right.
By the way, if you didn't hear it, Measure What Matters by John Doerr is the book, the reference for that. The other reference, Four Disciplines of Execution, if you haven't read that, you need that for this season. There's a bunch of great short videos on YouTube, by the way, that also explain both. There's a TED Talk. This is what got me. Tom, on that conversation a couple weeks ago, said, go watch the TED Talk, start there, it'll hook you. I had the book by the time his talk was over and just immersed myself in it. And then we've been testing it in an application. And here's the thing, it's so simple, it works.
Drop in some links, Andy. Just make sure
Dropping some
uh,
links.
people can get these books.
Love it.
Yeah, this is great. And I actually know, so Brian, who's doing the keynote with, Brian's doing the keynote with Tom Ferry tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And he picked up, yeah, I think he saw it on the story that Tom was reading Measure What Matters. So they're going to be expanding on that conversation.
Oh, good. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Well, I give all credit to my head coach. He's the one that really pushed me. He actually said we are OKRing his entire management staff to staff.
okay.
From a sales team, Four Disciplines of Execution, don't change that. Like one of my clients said, Andy, are you telling me to do one or the other? Like, why are we shifting from 4DX when it's been working? Like, no, 4DX, sales team, OKR, support team. And when you start seeing them through that lens, it really starts to come off the page and you start to find confidence in how are we going to do this versus we always have these big aspirations at the end of the year and we put these things on paper and the next year we pull that file out of the drawer or download the PDF off of our computer and go, how about I just copy what I wrote down last year because we didn't get it done? OKRs are going to activate that for your staff, right?
I love it,
Truth.
man. I love it. That's awesome. If anybody has any comments, please drop them in. We got about 5 minutes left here. Happy to take some questions. Looks like we got a couple of your clients in here, Andy, giving you
Cool.
shout
See
out.
you, Laughing's team. What's up, guys?
Yeah. Um,
Love that you're there. I would love to see, like, if you guys are watching and you're in a support role, I would love to see you put in the chat, like, what's an idea of a system? Excuse me, what's an idea of an objective? What's an idea of something that you guys need to do, work on, implement? What would it be?
yeah. Please drop that in the chat. I think I mean, I'm seeing all the time, people are always going through system changes, right? For whatever reason, right? And I think that is it's an amazing thing that's going to help. It's like just getting a CRM implemented could be your BHAG, right? In a way, but it's a lot of work.
Well, take that as an example. I have a client that has Sierra Interactive, a handful of clients that have Sierra Interactive and Sisu.
Yeah.
And when we're in our coaching conversation, the first thing I'm looking at is Sisu. I have coaches access thanks to you guys, and I'm asking questions and giving recognition based on what I see. But the comment will come up. I'm like, they'll say, I just don't get it. I just don't see what you see. And so that's the objective, is to know the system like your coach does, right? It's a simple objective. Key result, every day be in your system for at least 10 minutes. Like, what would that do? I mean, how much are you in the system now? Not at all. I get a lead, I respond to the lead, I go.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about leaders. I'm not talking about agents in production. Right? What's up, MJ? Thank you. What would be an example of a support role's objective? Depends on what you're supporting, Kelsey.
I got a great one. Kill spreadsheets.
How about get out of Google Sheets and into the systems that we pay for?
Yeah, that's a
Right?
great objective.
To centralize all of this, like, segregation of data, and where do we have that? It's over here. It's over there. It's over there. So one of the one of the things that we're experimenting with for projects is ClickUp. Was super inspired by some of our TF clients that showed us the insides of Monday and Trello, and one of our assistants goes, I know ClickUp. We go, well, then why aren't we using it? And just getting all of this stuff in 72 different locations into one.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Consolidating.
So
Okay.
listing manager, what's an example of a support role's objective as a listing manager? I got one for you. So, and you tell me, is the process that you guys go through transparent to all the parties involved? And I don't mean the client, I mean everybody on the staff. Or are you getting asked, where are we? Was this done? Is it an example of an excellent system on the listing side? Is it's transparent and owned or used by all the parties involved?
Yep.
For example, you guys have an amazing transaction checklist task-based system. I like it because all of the parties that are in Sisu can engage in one list. Whereas if you're trying to do that in SkySlope, it's more of the agent and the co-agent and the TC to each other.
Right.
You can't
Yep.
have that transparency
Well,
all
it's
amongst
part of
everybody.
why we did a lot of that task list type management, is keeping your data, your processes in one place so they complement each other, right? Your
Yeah,
task can be based on your data, and your data is going to complement your tasks.
it's good stuff.
I was going to say one more thing, Andy. I'm getting 4-hour brain now that we're running up on this ending mark.
Time to read Limitless.
Time to read Limitless. Yep. Appreciate you coming on the show, man.
It's my
Anything else you
pleasure,
want to
buddy.
leave us with?
No, I've said it. My gratitude is to you guys. Thank you for saying your appreciation. But you're helping us get our jobs done easier, and you're also helping me do my coaching gig a whole lot easier. So on behalf of all those clients that I get to coach with Sisu, you guys have gone out of your way for some of them. I mean, there's some guys that are hopefully going to watch this. They're going to go amen to that. That I have the pleasure of coaching. Like what you guys are doing, super pumped with Dan Prudhomme and his team. I can't wait to see. You guys are innovating in a way that most companies go, we'll put that on our list. And you guys are jumping in and getting it done. Super pumped to see what comes out on the other side. So thank you.
It's been fun. We have an amazing community. I just look at these, I look at all the people speaking on our list. I'm like, man, that's a stacked lineup. I'm like, it's just people I talk to like every couple of weeks. Like, I'm not taking it for granted, but that's the kind of community around Sisu, and it's been really fun. And
Yeah,
thank you for being part of that.
it's my pleasure.
We're gonna call this one a day. We will be back tomorrow. 2 more tracks of 8 hours each, live streaming. It's gonna be a blast. Andy, thanks for coming on, man.
Have a great night, buddy.
Yep.
See ya.
And everyone, we'll see you tomorrow.